Hey guys, it's Dave Tran here from Guitar Zero to Hero. Now, personally, I'm a massive fan of junior size guitars. I just think they're so fun to play. And the really great thing about them is that due to their size, you can play them anywhere quite comfortably, like on the couch, in bed before you go to sleep, at a campfire, or whilst you're traveling. So that's why I was pretty excited to get my hands on the Oliver Jr. from Orangewood. At this price point, it's pretty hard to believe that you get this awesome looking, awesome sounding junior size guitar that comes with a padded gig bag that's also professionally set up in LA before it gets shipped to the buyer. So anyway, to put the Oliver Jr. through its paces, I'll be comparing it up against two of the best selling guitars in this category, the Taylor GS Mini here and the Martin D Jr., both of which are excellent guitars. Now, the Martin D Jr. here has been superseded with the Martin D Jr. 10, which is basically the same, it just has a slightly shallower body. Now, I own the D Jr. here and I absolutely love it. This GS Mini here, I'm just borrowing from my cousin, but I wish I had one because they sound absolutely amazing. So first off, let's run through a couple of the specs and then we'll get straight to the sound comparison. Now, first off, in terms of materials, this Oliver has a solid mahogany top and mahogany layered back and sides. And for these other two, we have spruce tops and sapel back and sides. Now, the GS Mini and the Oliver Jr. come with a 23.5 inch scale length, 1 11/16 inch nut width, whereas the Martin D Jr. has a 24 inch scale length and a 1 3/4 inch nut width. So overall, I'd say the dimensions of the Martin D Jr. are slightly bigger than both the GS Mini and the Oliver Jr. In terms of the body profile and shape, the Oliver Jr. is basically identical to the Taylor GS Mini. The shape is almost exactly the same. The Taylor GS Mini feels a little heavier though, so I think that might just be a result of the woods that they're using. The Martin D Jr. has that dreadnought shape, but just sort of shrunken down a little bit. And as I said before, the nut width and the scale length is a bit bigger, so it's still a junior size guitar, but I would say it's a little bigger than these two. Now, in terms of price points, the Martin D Jr. and the Taylor GS Mini typically come in at $499 US, and the Oliver Jr. comes in at $195 US. And all guitars come with quality padded soft cases as well, with Taylor's probably being the best one in terms of overall quality. And I'd say the Martin and the Orangewood padded cases are on par. So let's get stuck into the sound comparison. In terms of strings, to keep things all equal, I've restrung all three of them with Elixir Phosphor Bronze strings, but they do all come with different strings out of the box. The Oliver Jr. comes with Ernie Ball Earthwood strings, the Taylor GS Mini comes with Elixirs, and the Martin comes with, I think, their own branded strings, but I could be wrong there. So anyway, let's jump into it and have a listen, and then I'll share my thoughts afterwards. So what did you think about the comparison? Which sound did you guys like best, and how do you think the Oliver performed against two of these big names? Now, in my opinion, I think the GS Mini does sound the best overall, and it's got a really balanced overall sound. And the Martin definitely had the most pronounced low end, I think, with its bigger body size, you'd expect it to. I think the Orangewood definitely held its ground, but it was slightly quieter than the other two. It definitely is the lightest of these three guitars. Picking it up is really, really easy. So I think that lack of weight in the wood maybe contributes a little bit to that. Now, the GS Mini and the Oliver Jr. play very, very similarly in terms of the neck and the feel. And that's due to their size proportions, I would say. All three of these guitars do have that junior size feel though. So for smaller players or students, any one of these would be a great place to start. With the GS Mini and the Oliver Jr. slightly more forgiving for smaller hands, as the D Junior has that slightly bigger scale length and slightly wider nut width. It's got a bit more of that full-size guitar feel in terms of the fretboard. Overall though, I'd say that the Oliver Jr. is great value for money. As I said at the start, to get a guitar at this quality that plays nicely, that's fully set up, and comes with a fully padded gig bag for just $195 US is pretty awesome. The Martin D Jr. and the GS Mini, I always rave about these guitars. They're amazing guitars, and it's nice to see that the Oliver Jr. can hold its own in terms of the feel of the fretboard, and playing it, it's just as fun. If I had to pick one and price weren't an issue, I would pick the GS Mini because I think that does sound the best. But I think the bottom line here is that with the Orangewood Oliver Jr., you're paying less than half the price for the others for about 70 to 80% of that quality of tone. The playability of the guitar on the fretboard and the neck is about on par with the other two, I would say, with the Martin D Jr. slightly being more spacious due to its wider nut width and longer scale length. So who is the Orangewood Jr. suitable for? Now, definitely anyone who's looking for a secondary couch strummer that they can, just play anywhere, travel around with, and not have to worry about too much. This guitar is also perfect for, the smaller players and children out there who are starting out with their first guitar. For me, I think this is a guitar that I can see myself having a lot of fun with at campfires, at the beach, playing in bed, and just playing at the desk as well if I'm trying to figure out some stuff here or there. What I like about it is that it is just super light, really small, so it's super comfortable on the lap. Not gonna have many issues, playing it for long periods of time and getting, sore shoulders or anything like that. But it's certainly not going to replace my full-size guitars anytime soon. Now, unfortunately for the time being, Orangewood only does deliver to the States at this time. Now, Orangewood also do make a larger version of the Oliver Jr., which is, as you guessed it, called just the Oliver, which is a grand concert size. So if you're looking for a great first guitar that's a little bigger in size, but still in that medium size range, then that's a great value guitar in my opinion, and it actually costs the same price as well. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this review and comparison of the Orangewood Oliver Jr. against the Taylor GS Mini and the Martin D Jr. If you want to find out more about this guitar, then head to the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this guitar comparison, then hit that like button, hit subscribe below, and I'll see you guys next time on Guitar Zero to Hero. Cheers.